There's a popular saying which says, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, we've chosen to ignore that advice in an attempt to better involve our younger generations of Australians in this important subject of commemoration and its attendant need to express gratitude for the sacrifice of others. Accordingly, would you please welcome Michaela Late from Aspley State High School to deliver our inaugural student presentation, the subject of which is Corporal John Alexander French, VC.
Since before Australia became a nation, its people always responded diligently to the call of arms. In the Sudan, in South Africa, and in the First World War, the men and women of this young country were always prepared and dedicated to travel across the seas in the name of flag and empire. However, in the Second World War, Australians answered a call of the most serious kind, a call to defend their own hearth and home. The ceremony today is a testament to the fact that this call was answered with the utmost courage and commitment. Thousands of men and women went to defend their families, their homes, and their nation, and in doing so, they paid with their lives. It was a commitment made without question nor hesitation, and it was followed through by men like Corporal John French. John French's life reflects the experiences of countless others of his generation called to this daunting task. He was born in July 1914, the same month as the beginning of the First War. Like many other young Australians, John French would have grown up with the newly formed Anzac legacy fresh in his mind. His education was in Crow's Nest, New South Wales, and here in Queensland at Toowoomba SHS. He was a dedicated student, an outstanding sportsman, and a young man with a reputation for fairness and honesty. These qualities are shared by so many others we now acknowledge as the heroes of Australia. When war broke out again in 1939, John French followed the example of his forefathers, and along with his two brothers, he joined the fight. To many people in Australia, in the Second World War, it seemed to start as though the same as the Great War, where a new generation would be sent across the ocean to fight for Britain in Europe and in the Middle East. John French initially followed the Anzac's path and served in Britain, Alexandria, and Libya. But when the Australians fought with resolve and dedication, their strength would soon be required much closer to home. With the entry of a new Axis power into the already gruesome war, John French returned to the Pacific to confront the juggernaut that was the Japanese military. With alarming speed, this powerful foe marching through the Pacific, claiming territories in mainland China, Hong Kong, and Singapore, and no more, with no seemingly able to stop them. It would be in the territory of New Guinea at Milne Bay in September 1942 that John French and the other members of the 9th Division were to carry out the action that was the first step in halting the Japanese onslaught. The conflict at Milne Bay experienced the successful tactics of the enemy that had worked so well, pummeling assault of artillery followed by rapidly advancing infantry. Despite the onslaught, the men of the 9th moved back but refused to give ground, and when the Japanese infantry moved forward to survey their captured territory, it was to find soldiers like John French who not only stood their ground, but advanced on the enemy. In an act of incalculable courage and concern for his fellow soldiers, John French attacked and single-handedly destroyed 3 machine guns and their operators, saving his unit but losing his life in the process. Milne Bay was the first major setback to the Japanese onslaught and would begin the long and painful pushback of the enemy soldiers through the Pacific for the next 3 years. John French was to win the ultimate award for his valor, the Victoria Cross. Of the many Australian recipients of this extraordinary honour, he was only the second to win the award for his services in Australia Territory and in defence of Australia itself. The actions and commitments of John French speak to us today of the actions of so many who took part in the battle for Australia, not impossible figures from fairy tales, but everyday young men who heard a call and answered it, made a commitment and followed through on it, and loved their country so much they died for it.
We come now to that part of the ceremony in which we lay wreaths. And I'll start by asking His Excellency if he would lay the first wreath at the Battle for Australia Memorial.